What up, everybody? And welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast to let you know the MMA podcast you should catch, skip, and can't miss each week, as well as we try and let you know any new shows that you should check out and all that shit. I am Pulver, and I am here with my co-host, Chris Madafra. I think I finally didn't fuck up the video for once this week, so that's good news. How's it going, bruh?
Not too bad, man. It's good that we kind of figured this shit out finally. And like you said, we were going back and forth between this, Skype, mostly just this and Skype, but whatever works, man. So
yeah, it was, oh God, it was a motherfucker getting all this shit together, but luckily I was able to, so we should be all good. I am moving that video, so I stopped looking way to the other side of the screen. So why don't you start us off with, do you have any Doug Stanhope Presents or Pop-Up Vodka Presents, Doug Stanhope Presents, our sponsors this week?
I do. So little disclaimer. I've been in full-on baseball mode, as you can clearly tell, all week. Full-on baseball mode because my San Diego Padres signed Manny Machado, which is a huge surprise. He's arguably the best third baseman in all baseball, signed for 10 years, $300 million. So I've been listening to some other baseball podcasts. And it's kind of fun because San Diego's a very small market team, and it's fun seeing all the Yankees fans and all these other idiot big market teams cry. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's definitely interesting for anyway.
Big San Diego sports fan. It's looking really forward to this season because, you know, as far as prospects work, the Padres have the #1 farm system in baseball, so they're going to bring up some killers next year. So either way, if you want to go to some Padres games, anyone does. Petco Park is definitely one of the best spots to be. So
Petco Park is dope. Even as someone who fucking thinks baseball is boring as all hell, Petco Park is pretty fucking dope.
Oh yeah, dude, you just go there for the experience. But anyways, the name of the podcast I wanted to shout out, I believe it was called something. What was it? What was it? Something Wild Baseball Podcast?
Sure, that sounds like a thing.
Oh, Effectively Wild. Yeah.
Effectively Wild.
It's Fangraphs Baseball Podcast with Ben Lindbergh and Jeff Sullivan. Basically what these guys do is they're all like statistician guys. They just run stats like crazy.
Gotcha.
They talk about the value of certain players on each team's. Just number shit. That's out of all the major sports. If you're a numbers guy, baseball is up your alley. So it was kind of fun hearing their take on that. They crunch numbers as far as how the salary cap works. Because in baseball, there is no salary cap. If your ownership could, pimp out the money with just whether it's through ticket sales or revenue or just merchandise, you're good to go. So
yeah, shout out to the Yankees, right?
Yeah, and the fucking Dodgers, or as I like to call them, the Doyers.
So, wow, that's everyone down here likes to call them the Doyers.
Yeah, so I'm just fucking just super hyped all week on that. And I know spring training starts tomorrow. And I might actually be going in the middle of March. My dad, he's actually going in his fucking ballin' ass RV, and he's like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "If you're going in that,
that's a good way to do it for sure,
yeah, man." So that's my Pop Vodka presents Doug Stanhope presents the unofficial or what'd you say, the
super real, totally not fake sponsor.
Fake, yeah,
is what we call it. It's a very simple name. I don't know how you could get it wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I fumble it every time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's see. Are you drinking on anything this week?
Yeah, got some free wine.
Oh shit, going hard.
One of my roommates' dad, not a white wine drinker, but having a Sauvignon Blanc, which is not too bad. I mean, I don't really drink white wine, so whatever. Free wine is free wine. So
that's what's
cheers.
Up. Yeah, well, I am cracking this week since I saw it at the store. Oh God, that's flipped. I did not expect that to happen. I am drinking the Hazy IPA from
Dude,
Ballast
I gotta
Point.
Look that up. What the fuck is that?
We'll see how this goes. Ballast Point in general, from what I understand, as of late, is just completely sold the fuck out. I mean, they did a long time ago, but did you hear the news about Cutwater, which is what I was about to bring up.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So since Old Ballast Point is officially dead as of, I think, this week, I figured I would grab a Ballast Point beer since I think they're probably fucking up this beer pretty bad.
Oh, I see. It's a New England style IPA.
Yeah. Hazy IPA from Ballast Point is questionable. So here, I'll pour this on camera so you can see it. And we'll see how this shit goes. I'm actually, ironically enough, drinking it out of a Green Flash Brewing Company. First off, that's not hazy, dog. We can start there. The name of the beer is Hazy IPA. That shit's pretty goddamn clear.
Yeah.
It looks a little hazy on cam.
It looks hazy more towards like the head of the beer, but other than that, it's supposed to.
I can see you through it, so it's not too hazy. I do have a legit hazy that I will be drinking later on as a comparison. But here, cheers to this shit.
Probably just say it's just not bad, and that's about it.
Oh God, yeah, no, that's the laziest hazy I've tried in a while. It doesn't taste like a hazy. It does a little bit on the back end, but it just tastes kind of oaty, as in they used oats. I'm not sure if they actually did, but yeah, it just kind of tastes like a watered down IPA.
And I know even through our best efforts, we try not to be a podcast about beer. I'm actually going to be applying. I'm actually going to be applying to some breweries because I think that'd be fun because I have decent beer knowledge at this point, or it's still expanding, of course, but I didn't realize you don't have to, but out of all I have to get LEED certified again, which kind of just shows you can handle alcohol. But there's this other thing I've never heard of. I think it's an Italian word, Cicerone or Cicciarone, Cicciarone.
Exactly.
But, is that like a beer history kind or like a
beer knowledge? Yeah, beer knowledge. Yeah. So basically,
that's what every application says. You need to be Cicerone approved. I'm like,
so the first level of Cicerone isn't too bad. You probably know most of it already. Most of it's all style dependent and taste dependent. So just like knowing like these kinds of styles have like wheat beers are made with this and are generally look like this. Here's some classic examples, that kind of stuff. It's not the higher levels of Cicerone stuff is pretty fucking crazy. You have to be able to taste off flavors and all that. But the lower Cicerone stuff is pretty manageable. So,
okay. I'm going to be doing that probably over the weekend or early next week. And
we'll get our own Chicharron on the podcast.
Just cranking out those applications, man. It'd be fun to work it. I don't give a fuck where they start me if I'm cleaning kegs, man. Whatever, dude.
You will be. You'll be lugging fucking grain, I'm sure. But that should be fun with me. There's enough fucking breweries down here. They could always use help. So,
yeah.
Cool, man. Well, we will go ahead and jump into format. Now that we've got this shit all going, and I got this beer I'm drinking on. So why don't you start us off with the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week?
So this one's kind of interesting to choose. There wasn't one where the ones that I wrote notes for, they were all good, like solid, like listenable. You can listen to them all.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of a generic weekend podcast. All things
I'll be honest. Last week I watched 2 fights total.
You watched the worst 2 fights. You told me right before we started.
2 fights. So you're not going to be hearing a recap from me.
Actually, you watched the worst 3 fights because you technically did see the Mitrione and what's his face.
So I'll go over first. Heavy hands, and I listened to the vivisection. The main event is pretty much what Connor and Phil kind of mostly wanted to talk about. Besides a little bit of a recap of last week.
And by main event, you don't mean MVP versus Daly?
Not that fight. Definitely not that fight. But they said the main event for this weekend is between an insane brawler in Thiago Santos, for those who didn't know by now, and a crafty technician in Jan Blachowicz, or as we used to like to call him, BJ Blazkowicz.
Yep.
Wolfenstein. Blachowicz hits hard, but he doesn't have one-punch power. I'd say there's a good number of fighters that have one-punch knockout power. I mean, no one's going to be like an Ngannou where you're killing someone.
Well, except unless your name is Rumble.
Yes. I mean, I would still love to see Rumble if he wasn't on the juice. Just go to heavyweight in the UFC and make just a fucking insane return.
I'd like to see Rumble fight in Ryzen in his current state. How about that? Or K1 would be even doper.
Okay, so it'd be great in Rumble's current state, even though Dana would never do it. Ancient, just Ngannou versus Rumble, see who knocks who the fuck out. I mean, I'd watch that.
I would watch it. It would be a fucking shit show if it went after more than 2 rounds, but
yeah, true. They're talking about Blachowicz has to frustrate Santos. Santos is a guy, he has the Black Zillions or former Black Zillions ability to power himself out of situations on the ground. As a quick little teaser, I see, and Connor and Phil discussed it, Blachowicz is crafty in the sense he does have a decent grappling, especially for someone that big, especially at that weight class. And I think we'll expect to see him kind of just go for single legs, especially I know it's easier said than done to kind of get forward pressure on someone like Santos, who's going to be just throwing very wild hooks and looping punches and just crazy fucking lead uppercuts.
Yeah, just wild, shit-eating wild man technique.
Yeah, both of them were very high on Blachowicz's, not like high on his fight IQ, but kind of just on his versatility. He's a versatile fighter. He has a decent jab. He could circle pretty well. He can grapple pretty well. He's had a couple submissions under his belt. So I like this main event too. I think it's fun. It's always fun when you get more of a tactical guy versus a straight up I want to fucking murder you guy.
Right.
So that they talked it up pretty well. They have me excited for it. They're not really too sold on Peter Yan versus John Dodson, mostly because of John Dodson and his ability to make the fight not fun.
It could be dope, but it could be a fucking rough 3-round decision.
John Dodson, I saw in an interview or in an article, mentioned, "Oh, you're going to see me knock this dude out and kill his hype." Dude, if you're telling me that, I don't know.
I'm just worried that John Dodson is going to throw all fucking power, like single power shots 3 a round now that you say that. So,
fuck. Well, Connor says he likes Hadzovic, I think his name, versus Reyes.
Yeah, Hadzovic. Something like that. Demir.
Should be a brawl. And they cited the Polo Reyes versus Maestro Kim fight, of course, which is fucking nuts from like, dude, that's probably been like, 3 years by now? This shit just flies.
It was a while back. It was before Polo Reyes was on suspension from USADA. That's how long ago
they said, don't get anything misconstrued or twisted. Kane got hit with an uppercut that knocked him down. Him falling down is what buckled his knee. I heard this also said from Michael Bisping, and from what I saw, that's what it looked like to me. He got fucking rocked.
They also joked during that episode that Kane is clearly 100% non-Frankenstein person who just randomly got injured. It definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't a punch or anything.
They said someone with a good Connor said we still haven't learned much about Francis Ngannou's defense because he just wants to obliterate you early, or he won't.
Yeah.
Someone with a good jab can negate Ngannou's forward pressure, like what Stipe did. They think another guy who can give him problems if he doesn't get caught is Junior Dos Santos, especially with those outside leg kicks.
Yeah.
Then they praised Paul Felder, Andre Fili, and Aljamain Sterling's performances. They all fought very intelligently. That's what I have from Heavy Hands.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I really liked how they compared Vic's confidence after the Gaethje loss, because it definitely seems different, and he's way less willing to just march forward. Didn't they mention there was a part of the fight where he's talking to his coach, that piece of shit, saying in the corner. He's like, I heard you like the rape, and I'm cool with the rape.
Yeah, he's like, coach, he's really trying to rape me out there with those shots. I don't know if I could take it.
Yep. Sure said that. It's a direct quote.
And his coach is like, great choice of words, but get back in there. Give it to him.
That's just a rumor. There's definitely not a billion pieces of evidence that support it. Anyway, let's keep on moving on before we get ourselves in any more trouble. Let's see. Do you have any other? I guess I can jump into a catch. Protecting Neck, episode 115 was super fucking solid.
I listened to that one as well.
It was really good.
I liked it.
Yeah, Dan Tom's recap of GSP retiring and just kind of him being a pound for pound great I really enjoyed it. Dan talks a bit about how belts have been super devalued over time, and he talks about GSP and Shirk being pioneers of the off season, but then he also throws out there, and Shirk, he was a pioneer of the needles and caveman workouts, which was great. They also talk a bit about the GSP Penn rivalry.
Yeah, I remember he mentioned at that point, he thought Connor Connor doesn't give a fuck about anyone but himself at this point, but he's like saying it would have been kind of nice.
Are you serious? He
Newsflash.
Clearly is a family man, Chris, who cares about other people's feelings.
So how many kids does he have right now? 3 or 4? Or
you can't have a baby. Oh, I'm not going to make that joke. You guys can figure out the joke I was going to make there. It was not going to be appropriate. It was not. So
anyhow, yeah, he was saying that whole champ thing, which is a goofy ass term that Connor came up with.
Yep. Shouts out to the article.
Should have given credit. Shouts out to what?
The article on the site about that.
Oh yeah. People on the MMA committee. I got to go back to that forum, see if anyone went down that rabbit hole any further. That was kind of weird.
That one definitely went off the rails a bit, huh?
But he was just trying to make the point. Connor should have said, "Hey, I mean, he's not going to do it, but at least give fucking credit to BJ Penn, who was a double champ first,
the OG." And that's if you're not counting fucking Dan Henderson.
And you look at because how tall is BJ? Like maybe 5'10". I
mean, maybe. I think he's probably shorter than that.
It's crazy. I'm just winning that. Fucking nuts. So, yeah, good on BJ Penn. Always good giving him a shout out and discussing his legacy. You know, the GSP rivalries. He discussed Josh Koscheck, Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, you name it. I mean, we would have loved to seen. Well, maybe not now. I would have loved to seen GSP versus Woodley. Not now,
right? But yeah, no, not nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, even like that whole thing, Habib saying, would have loved to have fight you. I don't know how the fuck that would have gone down now. I'm sure GSP would have prepared for it well. That would have been at 170. There's no way they fight to 155.
I think that they were aiming for 165 for the belt.
I think it would have been a competitive fight.
I think it would have been fun as hell. I think GSP would have jabbed the living shit out of Habib and double-legged him.
Yeah.
But then again, I picked Kane last week, so what the fuck do I know?
Did I pick Ngannou? I don't even remember. I think I just didn't trust Kane's health. I see. I was so checked.
You did pick Ngannou. God damn it! And I
think
very
I said first round knockout.
Yeah, that was the only fight we picked different actual fighters on, and didn't work out great for me. You definitely won the picks last week.
You had the logical pick in the sense of experience and what you've seen Kane can do, and I was just like, well, he's stitched up at this point. So and then Ngannou, credit to his camp, they know that Kane's going to try to time those takedowns to single leg. It's like, what are you going to do? Just really run at him.
Yeah, and then hit him with the palm strike while your back is against the cage, and it was knee blowout. And
uppercut, death uppercut his ass.
Well, it was an open hand palm strike, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I feel like if I had the power and the size and just the athleticism that Ngannou has, I'm sure he's working on his wrestling and his takedown defense. There's no way he's not doing that. But if you're fighting a wrestler, I almost feel like even though it would fuck up your gas tank, if you're that confident getting a finish in the first round, like he's almost kind of running out with a flying knee, but something where your opponent naturally has to back up and just start fucking just winging in the clinch.
See, the thing is I guarantee, number one, if Ngannou leaves his feet, he's getting taken down.
Yeah.
And number two, if you're being that aggressive, he's also getting taken down.
Yeah, sure.
Shouts out to the Stipe fight.
Yeah.
So,
and shouts out to that head movement. Because I watched that fight again recently. Holy shit!
Yeah, he's a regular Edmund student.
It's like, God damn it, DC. I wish he wasn't fucking hurt. Sucks. I almost feel like he's not going to fight and he's just going to vacate his belt. I'm like, all right, I'm too old. Bye, and then that'll be it.
The rumor is DC's returning. I think Javi Vasquez on Submission Radio, I want to say said that he was DC should be back by summer or so. And it's sounding like the Brock fight during the summer, probably Memorial Day, whatever that big fight week, International Fight Week.
I mean, I'm not mad at that because it sounds hilarious and just how it's going to go down. But yeah, Stipe, if you're him, you just wait. That's all you can do. Like I remember I saw him on Twitch. All he's doing is he's playing Blackout and he's just chilling.
He's playing Call of Duty every goddamn day right now. It's fucking great.
So good on him.
Yeah, and also shouts out to actually, I'm not going to shout us out, but if you go follow us on Twitch at The Sound of Violence Live, one of these days I'll actually get the fucking streaming working to a point where we can do that. But we do follow, as far as I know, pretty much every fighter that has a Twitch stream. So if you're looking for fighters with Twitch streams, check out who we're following. Let's see. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about Protect Your Neck. He did a really good breakdown of the card. I'm not going to go into it because it's just Dan Tom doing a breakdown. But he did have some hilarious jokes in there, especially with people's names and all kinds of stuff. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Episode 115, I believe.
Yeah, that's what it was as well.
Cool. Do you have any other MMA podcasts you recommend people catch this week?
Yeah. So, yeah, you know what? If I Did It, I like that.
If I Did It was a pretty good one.
So I think it was it Steffi or was it? No. I'm thinking of
You're thinking Care Don't Care.
Care Don't Care or Level Change. No, that's with Mookie. Oh, God, all these bloody elbow ones, man.
I know. They blend together if it's not vivisection.
Yeah, so Alexi, Eugene, and Kid Nate. So will Kane ever be back? Will DC want to fight Francis? I mean, I feel like his game plan's pretty straightforward in how to beat him. So I don't see why not. Because either going into that fight, I'm going to get my head knocked off, or I'm just going to dominate this dude on the ground.
For sure. So, also, shouts out to little Trevor. I don't know if you guys can hear Trevor in the background, but
yeah, they're all leaving right now.
Well, it is Friday, and they're probably making good decisions. I may or may not have a podcast here in a minute that is also happening today on Friday. That is pretty good. So Friday is it's a heck of a day for doing shit, and we are always stuck doing a podcast because we're goddamn nerds, Chris.
Oh, that we are. Podcast Friday.
You are drinking white wine on a Friday doing a podcast, so I'm surprised this isn't about murders. Really, it feels like
I'm doing. And let me guess, I'm watching one about the million of the Ted Bundy ones that they have on Netflix. Do my best impression.
For sure.
So they said, why the hell is Stipe silent at this point? He spoke when he should have been quiet, and now he's quiet when he should be talking. That was a very good point.
I could see that.
Like, come on, Stipe. They said if you're Francis, call out Stipe. Nate thought Kane looked old and shot. He was very critical of Kane. Some people are, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Eugene said he saw an hour workout between Kane and Todd Duffy and says he's glad he doesn't gamble. Take that for what it's worth. They said after what happened to Colby Crappington, we know interim stuff is just still purely wolf tickets. Unfortunately, there was the unfortunate announcement of Adesanya versus Gastelum, not as just a regular 5-round, you're going to get the next title shot fight, but a fuck you interim boo-boo belt, promise ring, fake shit, whatever you want to call it.
Shocking, by the way. I'm ultra shocked that they're doing a fucking super real, totally not fake Doug Stanhope presents
Eugene
belt.
Explained he thinks champions being stripped due to injury isn't fair at all. I don't think he went into detail on what he meant by that, because I feel like if you keep getting hurt, a la like Dominic Cruz was, then it's kind of fair because it means you physically can't defend.
I'm guessing he means like a single injury. It's kind of fucked up that like Kevin Randleman. I don't know if that was a title fight when Kevin Randleman slipped on the pipe.
Because I know was it Adesanya who went out and said, "Oh, he should be stripped." And that's just him saying, fuck it. Is that just him saying, I don't want to fight this guy? Or just, I mean, because it's almost, I'm not putting words into his mouth, but it's just like calling for someone to get stripped.
I think he's just trying to guarantee a title fight, and he knows he gets paid way more if he gets a title fight. So,
yeah.
That would be what my money's on.
I mean, either way, if I'm in that 185 division, I wouldn't want to fight Robert Whittaker or fucking Yoel. I'm praying Yoel goes up in weight. So there's that.
Yeah, Robert Whittaker is a motherfucker of a matchup for anybody, especially after those 2 UL fights. Like, good God.
They said that they think it's funny how the UFC or Ali made Kelvin Gastelum look fucking stupid with that whole belt charade.
Yep.
Eugene says he thinks Gastelum kind of had a point about forfeiting the belt because that's like saying, what if a team in the Super Bowl didn't show up? But that's kind of a weak-ass, I think, comparison in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say so as well. I get it, but I don't buy it.
So this was, I guess this is a catch. It's kind of like a half skip though, because then they talked about that douchebag actor from that show Power being fake attacked by it's
so pro tip. Yeah, you're talking about what's his face, which Eugene also talked about on the Eugene S. Robinson show.
I remember when that story broke, he said he was attacked by 2 guys wearing MAGA hats. They put a rope around his neck and then poured like some sort of substance on his head. But the only issue was, or the only thing that had me skeptical was like, isn't it -20 right now outside?
Yeah, I think it was bleach too, if I remember right.
Yeah, and I was like, isn't it negative fucking? I was like, -30, and you're going outside.
Yeah, my favorite part about that story is I believe Eugene S. Robinson pointed it out that I think the dude said the guys yelled at him, "This is MAGA country." Is like that.
Oh,
it doesn't sound like a real quote.
Eugene said that the two guys who did that appeared to be Nigerian, of all things.
Right. Like this story definitely checks out as super legit.
Two Nigerian guys wearing MAGA hats.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think that's actually so. What they do on the podcast feed is, I believe they go through and add if I did it and if the shoes fit to the same podcast. If you do the video version, they split them between two different videos. But if you do the audio version, I believe they combine the two episodes. So that explains why it's not MMA related for the second half.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so that's not fair. I shouldn't call it a house skip, but that's what I had for there as well. And the rest of these I have written down. I'll just give quick shout outs after we're done with the other stuff, or I'll just kind of just ring them out.
Cool. So my other catch this week was the intro you guys heard if you listen to the podcast version of the show. I'm not running OBS. We're just straight doing Google Hangouts, so I was not able to pull the clip and run it before we started on Google Hangouts. But MMA Roasted, the episode between Tyler Smith and Deanna Bennett and Uncle Hinach was fucking incredible. It's so goddamn good. It's a shit show. First off, we should shout out, big shouts out to Tyler Smith, who is, as we're speaking, probably fighting down at Dana Point, the 4 Points Sheraton Hotel down here in San Diego for the Epic card that's happening while we're recording this.
Well, good luck to him.
Yeah, so he was on that episode, which was cool to hear. He shouted out that promotion along with Hinach did as well. Or Hinata Larange, if you guys are not familiar. And if you're not familiar, what are you doing? You're doing MMA Twitter wrong. But it's a really good episode. Evidently, Eve wrote a children's book, which is fucking crazy. He did some children's book. I mean, he does have I think at least one kid, maybe two kids. I don't know. But he did a children's book with, I forget who, a couple of his friends. But it sounded funny, and it definitely opened Hinach up for a couple great jokes about how he's not going to actually parent his children, but he will buy the book for them so that way they can parent themselves. Let's see. They talked a bit about Bellator 215 and 216 being a bit of a shit show. At one point, I don't know if it was Hinach or if it was Eve. I want to say it was Hinach that said that Ngannou gives people the itis, which is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever heard. You know what the itis is, right?
You
know it from Boondocks.
No, yeah. God damn it! Just tell me, because I haven't seen that in a while.
White people call it a food coma.
Okay,
but yeah, it's a real good conversation.
That is pretty clever.
Yeah, Uncle Hinach doing his best Uncle Hinach impressions. And then this is where this episode became really fucking great. Deanna Bennett calls in talking about her Invicta win last weekend. And since she's in the flyweight tournament for the belt, and so she won over, I forget.
Yes, like Jennifer Maya or something like that. I don't know. Someone who's kind of just been in that. I have
not Jennifer Maya, but somebody. I forget who it was. But anyway, she got the win, and so she is rematching. Oh God, I'm not even gonna try to butcher a chick's name since I don't remember it off the top of my head. But she's rematching the person she fought before. And Uncle Hinach at one point, so Adam Hunter, every time there's a female on, immediately gets into dating shit with them. It's a lot like Dennis Bermudez. I don't know. They just have a compulsion to do it every fucking time. So they, of course, talk about how Deanna Bennett is awkward as fuck. I believe in her post-fight interview for Invicta, she actually said something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, I love it. I'm out here grinding people. I love it. I don't know why I can't get a date." In her post-fight speech, which is hilarious. So then Uncle Hinach goes through and pitches date ideas to Deanna, and it goes off the fucking rails real quick.
Yeah, especially if you have someone like Uncle Hinach. God, you already know, like, he's kind of like probably getting, I could get some.
Oh no! There's a lot of talk about toothy blowjobs at one point. He was talking about how he's going to take her to Mark Henry's pizza place and buy her the Stromboli, and
Jesus.
and all kinds of goofy shit. It's really fucking funny. I highly recommend checking it out. I won't even do any justice to it if I was to keep quoting it, but you guys heard the clip on the intro. That's the tame part. I'm not putting in the part where he's talking about how he is definitely going to get it. Let's just say he's not subtle about how he's interested in hooking up with Deanna. So it's pretty fucking great. She's also a great sport the whole time, which makes it even funnier. So it's real funny. And then other than that, they preview UFC Prague real quick. They also preview UFC 235, and they talk a bit about the bare knuckle card that happened. So it's just a really fucking fun.
Was that the
no, not the one where Phil Baroni and Chris Lieben and everybody didn't get paid.
The one with Julian Lane?
Yeah, Julian Lane, and he fought Efren Escudero. Beck Rawlings defended her title for the Police Gazette belt. That was the one where actually we tweeted out a clip because she broke her tooth during that fight and she spit it out after choking on it. So
I think I saw something on Instagram. It was under like featured or some shit, or you might show like her face, or she did something after that. It was like a thumbnail of it.
She asked people. She asked people if they could find the clip of it. I was trying to script the video. I couldn't find it anywhere. And then third round, and I was like, I maybe this is it. So I tweeted to her and asked her, and she's like, nope, that's just me burping up my lunch. Great. So, it's a really good episode. Anything with Uncle Hinach and Eve Edwards, it's gonna be hard not to pick. The only reason this isn't a can't miss for me is Adam's goddamn baby is crying off and on throughout the background. So if that's something that is trouble for you, be forewarned. But overall, it's really fucking funny.
Yeah, you can't really control shit like that. That happens in the background. So
I mean
you kind of can.
You can when there's a babysitter in the building. He just doesn't give the baby to the babysitter until the very end of the episode. I don't know what Adam's doing. Adam's also coaching wrestling with the baby in a sling. So like, what the fuck do I know? I don't know. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, why don't we keep on moving on? Do you have a skip for this week? Or MMA podcast you recommend people skip? Oh, also, I should give a Eugene S. Robinson style disclaimer. Just because we're saying to skip your show this week does not mean that we think your show is not good or that people shouldn't listen to it. Just means the effort taken to listen to the show this week is not worth the time we spent. Which Adam's fucking crying baby almost made that a skip, but the episode's too goddamn funny. So
I don't want to be a dick and say that the Vivis section's a full-on skip. I'll say that it's, if you listen to Heavy Hands, they kind of just parrot the same thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty similar breakdown.
Yeah, so it's not really a skip, but you can they're interchangeable this week, I feel like. Unless you prefer Zane to Phil or vice versa. Sure, whatever your cup of tea is.
Right.
Let's see. Unfiltered was okay. Dominic Cruz was great as always. That dude knows how to break anything down. Oh, yeah, there's the Luponic.
Popping open the Luponic Distortion. I had one left in the fridge.
Fuck, so I got to go grab a beer at some point as well. So Dominic Cruz did a guest on Unfiltered. He talked about the transition from fighting to commentating.
I didn't catch that one.
How it's working with Daniel Cormier. He said, "Oh, that is so fun because you know, as the kind of chatty person he is, he'll talk to you about anything. He can break down anything. He likes to be able to share that. Not necessarily because he's in the limelight. I don't think he really gives too much of a shit about that. He just likes being able to kind of express himself and kind of he's almost like a co-sensor. He's just kind of he's very analytical. I know he has that thing with Gilbert Melendez that I still haven't seen because I think it's on ESPN cable. I was kind of hoping it was on ESPN Plus, but I don't think it is.
I want to say it's Sundays maybe on ESPN.
Either way, I have to look up some clips of that on YouTube because you already know someone's uploading that.
Yeah, maybe ESPN is, honestly.
So Matt asked him about what did you think of Aljamain Sterling's performance? He said he thought his movement and footwork were much improved. He thinks he's a very, very, very good, just I don't know, elusive fighter, but one who can move, he can strike, and he's the kind of fighter who confuses you by kicking before punching. He's more of a kicker at this point, and he uses those teeps really well and kind of has not like a roundhouse kick because he doesn't really spin too much, but it's kind of like that. I don't know what the fuck it's called when you kind of stand and just kind of bring your leg over like that, but you're not spinning. You're not positioning your hips. It's almost kind of like a lazy kind of. It's like a lazy, not like a head kick because you're not snap. I don't know what it's called. You're just kind of like. But I notice he does that too. I don't know what the fuck that's called.
I have no idea what kind of kick you're talking about, so I can't help you.
But he basically broke down that fight and said, well, Jimmy Rivera kind of did okay at the single leg attempts. It was him not being able to counter the kicks. He wasn't able to take down Aljo because he couldn't counter those kicks, and he kind of compared it to the Rivera and Marlon Moraes fight. Although that fight lasted only like a minute, it was one of those things that Aljamain Sterling and his camp, Matt Serra and Ray Longo, knew we got to kick, we got to disrupt so he can't shoot.
Yeah, well, and Rivera seems to have trouble with kicks because I just having just rewatched the John Dodson fight, he got clipped with a left high kick in the long combo from Dodson in that fight too, where he just seems to, for some reason, definitely always catch kicks off the like this part of his head, at least from the left side.
I mean, he knows what he clearly has to work on now moving forward. I think that guy's still very insanely talented, especially at that weight class.
Yeah, I think so too. It's really interesting that he's had no fucking easy fights for a long time. So
no. I mean, at one point, the guy won 20 fights in a row, which is a feat in itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what promotion you're in. I know he wasn't fighting cans.
Yeah, no, that was in CFFC, if I remember right. Because I think him and Aljo both came from CFFC.
I believe so. Cruz also said the first thing Alex Caceres did was give his back to Crow and Gracie, which is what you never want to do against someone, let alone just to Gracie.
Yeah.
Cruz talks about his freak injury, again, unfortunately, and how you can't come back quickly after an injury. He talked about his comeback fight against TJ Dillashaw where he won the belt, and that fight and how his feet were all fucked up, and then how he had to inject stem cells in his feet before the Cody Garbrandt fight so that it essentially elongates time off before the inevitable surgery that he has to get after that. So shouts out to stem cells because that's clearly what a lot of fighters do. That's what Cody Garbrandt did. That's how he was in that fight. That's how he was able to fight Cruz. He was to fight Dillashaw. He had that back problem. He had to get surgery in Germany for stem cell treatment. Cruz loved Francis Ngannou's game plan of rushing Kane like a bull and just literally not giving him any time to think, really.
Yep.
Dominic thinks Francis is a freak athlete because he cuts to 266 and still has an 8-pack, which I didn't think about. I was like, yeah, that's kind of nuts. Dude's probably like 285 pounds and is shredded.
Yeah, and he's not like it's not Juan Archuleta. Who's the giant fucking heavyweight that's fighting soon? Who just tweeted about this? So he's like,
wasn't it Juan Espinosa or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
The Spanish guy who won
tough, dude, right? From Contender Series with the fro.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, that's Pena.
No, heavyweight.
Oh, heavyweight. That's Juan something. He's a Spanish guy, I believe.
Yeah, I can never remember.
He's like name. 38, but he's really talented or something. Fucking. He looks like he's like 30, and he's like 38 or 39. It's not. He looks really young for his age. Matt talked about Francis has the hardest recorded punch in the UFC. Yada, yada, yada. And then, of course, Matt made the joke, oh, you know, be a great fight? Francis versus Derek Lewis. They all. It's like, thanks. Thanks for reminding me. I need some bleach. Dom says they asked him about what you think of Dillashaw getting finished by Cejudo. He says, I'm never opposed to seeing Dillashaw getting an ass whooping. He said, my main problem is TJ's taking the loss poorly. He says, the point I'm making is that the ref stoppage won't ever be changed or overturned. At that point, a fighter needs to know when to just accept the loss and stop running away from his balls. He says, when you weight cut that much, and they asked him, they're like, could you have made 125? Dom says, probably. He says, but I never did that because what you do is you get less water in your body, which means your brain is more dried out, which means you're more durable, which means a regular kick or regular punch or haymaker that you can take at 135 or 145, what do you think it's going to do to you when you don't have as much water in your head? You just, no.
It's not going to go better.
Why do you think? I mean, Cejudo hits hard. I think he does for his size. He hits pretty fucking hard. But if you get hit behind the ear, come on, dude, especially when you're cutting down to all that weight. It's not good. We had both mentioned before, why do you think the people going up in weights in those double champ fights are winning? Because they're not the ones cutting weight.
Right.
So
just GSP.
Technically, those guys are staying at their weight and they're going up, but still, it's always an advantage when you're gaining weight because that means I'm cutting less. Your durability is probably going to increase, which is why John Jones would probably be more of a monster at heavyweight, theoretically. Theoretically.
Yeah, it depends on who he's fighting.
Yes.
I gotta still favor him over pretty much everybody except for DC because I'm forever picking DC over John Jones because I'm an idiot. So what are you gonna do?
Same with me. I'm in that boat too. So yeah, but that's all I had to say. He said basically TJ's weight and body affected his durability more than ever. That's how that went. Someone else was on there too, but I kind of just wanted to listen to what Dom had to say. Jimmy was not.
Oh, was it Phoenix in that one?
No. That was one before. It was Jamie English who I was.
Oh, that's much better than Phoenix. To be fair, Phoenix wasn't terrible on the episode with Ali Quinta earlier in the week, but I don't know.
Oh, Francis Ngannou called in later, but unfortunately, I didn't get to the end of the episode. And shouts out to Francis. That dude seems really fucking humble, polite. Seems like a really classic. Everything I see how that guy carries himself, it always impresses me.
Yeah, no, he seems like a nice dude.
I know initially when he was kind of first coming in, he was being labeled as like the killer. I think he kind of got to his head maybe a little bit, especially like in the Stipe fight.
I think a lot of that shit is Dana getting fucking mouthy.
But yeah, no, that's a good point. I think a lot of it's blown out of proportion. But Francis seems like a really fucking cool guy. I wouldn't mind seeing him be champion. I think it might be inevitable at this point based on that dude's just work ethic.
Depending. Oh no, man, DC can easily Stipe Miocic.
How much left Francis has in the tank. He's only 31, which is still insane. Like, holy shit, especially for heavyweight. Isn't he the youngest heavyweight? He's got to be down there. He's got to be one of the youngest. Like, that's one of the youngest heavyweights.
He's definitely one. No, he's like 30. He's like, well, to be fair, yeah. Oh. I was going to say he's like late 30s, but also that's still young for heavyweight.
Yeah, he's 31.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's like 37.
Who, Francis?
Yes, look it up right now.
Let me look it up right now. No, I thought he was 31 because remember Derek Lewis said.
I think he's almost 40.
Yeah, because Derek Lewis kept saying, "Let me see his birth certificate."
Yeah, well,
Francis Ngannou, born September 5th, 1986. He's turning. It was 32.
Okay, I don't buy that, but that's fine. Theoretically, it's possible, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, he's turning 33 in the fall.
Oh, cool. So in 3 years, I get to look like Ngannou? Sweet. Super excited for that. Definitely not going to look like a fat Polish kid then. All right. So was that a catch for you or a can't miss?
I don't really have a can't miss.
Or was it a well-rounded? Not well-rounded, but honorable mention. My bad.
It was an honorable mention. The rest of these I have. Like I said, admittedly, I was a little too hyped on baseball this week, so I kind of got a little. Pretty much, I just had a bunch of Doug Stanhope shit, as you might call it. I'm not gonna fucking say the whole spiel, you know.
I got you. Cool. I'll burn through my skip and can't miss real quick then, and actually, you will be able to join in on my can't miss. But real quickly, my skip this week. Actually, let me pull up dude's name who mentioned this to me because Chael tweeted out a thing this week that we retweeted. He tweeted, I think he tweeted out that for the You're Welcome Bringing a Kick to a Fist Fight episode, Chael tweeted it saying, Joel got drunk at 9 a.m., which I took to mean, and I think even Uber Smitty took to mean that Joel is on mic drunk at 9 a.m. in the morning. Not the case. And I'll get to that in a minute. But the reason this is a skip for me is, here, let me pull up dude's name. JF1 MMA sent us a DM talking about this episode and the fact that Chael and Podcast One decide to play fucking ads every 5 or 10 minutes on these fucking 40-minute episodes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the episodes are, I think, on average, like 45 minutes. And you're hearing
it's 45-minute episode with 15 minutes of ads, and they completely break the pace and the timing of the show. It's fucking frustrating. And not only that, so he told this Joel story about, I'll just briefly run through it. Joel essentially quit his old job, got a new job, told Chael, then no-showed the new job. That same day that he was supposed to go to the new job, he was also supposed to train Chael's wife, because he's now going to be a personal trainer for Chael's wife. He no-shows that because he sends her a text message that just says, "I'm not going to make it," and it's him at the bar at like 10 a.m. So it's a fucking shit show of an episode, but it would be so much better if Chael actually got Joel on for it. So I don't know, man. It's frustrating in that I feel like he fucked up what could have been a fantastic show. And then what's awkward is Chael talks about at the very end of that story, oh, hey, also, like, so I hit Joel up and I was like, Joel, I'm going to come meet up with you and I'll buy you booze, but I'm going to monitor it because I don't trust you to not do some crazy shit. And then cut to ad break, come back from ad break, no more talk about it. Which is like, that sounded like the middle of a story where they just put an ad break in and then didn't ever come back to the story.
I feel like they decided not to roll with it and they're like, fuck it, just cut to ad and then we're done.
I don't know what it was, but it was frustrating as hell to listen to.
That's annoying.
It was a good story, but
you can't just cut that up. You just can't end it like that.
Yeah, no, it was frustrating. Chael also talked a bit about the Bellator cards. The other reason this could easily be a skip is he kept saying the Friday card was awful, but the Saturday card totally lived up to it, which I get why Chael would like MVP versus Daly, because he's got to see Daly wrestle and do something that Chael would do. But yeah, frustrating for sure. Yeah, and I forget who mentioned it this week. God, I'm trying to remember. I want to say maybe Vivisection, but somebody mentioned that Chael must have done some kind of, or no, you know what it was? It was The Outsiders with Josh Gross and Jeff Sherwood. Josh Gross mentioned that Chael must have done some fucking deal with the devil to be able to call the Bellator card on Saturday and then go to Connecticut and do a Sports Center piece for the UFC Phoenix card the next day. He's the only motherfucker who not only gets to do steroids, but also gets to do both companies' fucking shows for.
Dude, I was just thinking about that the other night. Like, this guy has a fucking good gig. He's got all the gigs. Yeah, and I like Chael. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know. I think he's a good MMA personality for the most part.
I like him too. I think he's very entertaining. So I get that's why, but still, man, it's a lot of parts of that episode were frustrating, unfortunately. I just hope Joel's on again soon, because him and Joel are the funniest shit in podcasting as far as I'm concerned. Mostly just because Joel loses his goddamn mind and Chael...
Snap and drag.
Yeah. He will snap and drag a motherfucker like it's 81-92 real quick. So...
the producer again? Or the... Did he want to...
Oh, God. I don't even remember at this point.
Fuck, the episode always just rings in my mind. He like says his name, and he's like, "I'm gonna fire you." I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. Super funny though. And then I'll get to my canvas for this week. Chris, when you and I were just watching it right before this, it's actually happening while we're recording. If you guys are not patrons of the Co-Main Event podcast, you're fucking up. The Co-Main Event Affliction Day of Reckoning Drinking Challenge just happened as we're recording, and they're getting hammered. They're drinking proper 12. They're watching Affliction shows.
Did you kind of notate what kind of beer? I know you said there was one that was a bourbon, a bourbon barrel aged. Was it a stout?
Yeah, it's the Boulevard Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout. I believe also they started off. So Danny Boy Downs, who we met actually at shouts out to Balboa Tap House.
Yep, shouts out.
He's a rep for Boulevard. So let me start at the beginning. First off, they're both wearing fucking sweet Affliction gear from the era. I believe Chad Dundas actually.
Oh, dude, he had like that pale blue gray shirt with it looks like those fucking feathers or some shit.
So
right?
Ben Folks had the official Fedor walkout shirt for the Affliction card, and then Chad Dundas is rocking a Fedor hoodie with a fucking I wish I could remember what hat it is. I think it's a bad boy hat that still has the tag on it.
Let's see what this looks like again. It's
fucking really ridiculous. Fucking funny. Sir Nigel is also in studio off camera.
I heard him, yeah.
Super fucking great. He, shouts out to Sir Nigel for being on our intro from the last.
Is it their friend? I think it's like that. It's their friend named Dan. Or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Danny Boy Down sent him beers like he does for all of these things, which is great because he sends them with tasting notes for each of the beers, and then he does fighter comparisons. So for example, the Boulevard Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout, he compared to Daniel Cormier because it's family friendly and a big old beer.
Dude, this shirt is really fucking bad.
It's real bad.
I mean, I don't know if you can't probably really see it on here.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Holy fuck, that's really bad, dude. It's like The Last Emperor, and it's like, hey, let's just go ahead and put in what's that font called? Like the old timey newspaper font from back in the day. Yeah. It's like what the Boston Globe uses, and like some other shit. Maybe not that, but it's just like, let's just write. Is it really just say Affliction? I don't know. There's a bunch of gibberish. It's absolutely fucking terrible. It's just, oh god.
I believe the mat for that card also has Trump written in that font in the corner because Donald Trump is hanging out in the corner of a lot of that shit. But anyway, so they start off. Here's a little how this goes. They start off with Ben is drinking a Duvel first.
Ooh, I love
not
that beer.
Duvel, but like the Duvel, the black with the D. There's got to be a better way to phrase that. Black can, red D on it.
Not the Belgian beer. It's
no, not Duval. Duvel. It's a different Belgian beer. Duval is the really good monkish beer. Duvel is the solid Belgian. I believe.
Yeah, that's the one with the white and the red lettering, the Duvel that they have.
I think so.
It's the triple hop Belgian beer.
Something like that, yeah. And then Chad Dundas is drinking what he keeps calling the Baolu, which is actually the beer made. I forget who makes it. It might actually be Boulevard as well, but it's a Caribou beer that is partnered with Tech 9 for the song.
That checks out. Caribou.
It's great. Yeah. 151 rum, pineapple juice, and Malibu. I'm not going to repeat the rest of that song. It's inappropriate. Tarbender, give me another drink. No, Tarbender, give me a druther nink. Sorry. It's a great fucking song. Also, don't drink Caribous. They're very dangerous. You get in a lot of trouble with Caribous.
Anything from Tech 9 kind of sounds dangerous.
Yeah. Make baby girl come out of her shell and raise hell. Don't stop till the cops come. Anyway. They're also drinking Proper 12. It's also, on top of that, a drinking game. Which, here, you know what? I will quickly read off the drinking game rules.
Say this isn't a drink as noted or...
Oh, the Zane Lamprey style one?
If you watch Conor McGregor drink Proper 12, he's not sipping it, clearly, so it's not a sipping whiskey.
Oh, no, it's definitely... Well, it's because if you sip it, you're going to throw up. Let's see. So, here's the Zane Lamprey version of this. The Co-Main Event Podcast episode is not a drinking game. However, if it was a drinking game, the rules would be every time Tito screws up on commentary, take a drink. A person looks out of place in an Affliction shirt, looking at you, Freddie Roach, take a drink. Mention of Donald Trump, take a drink. Appearance of Donald Trump, finish your drink. By the way, you can't use that because they show him fucking constantly during the show. Gratuitous mention of co-promoters / partners, take a drink. Someone gets badly and totally slept, finish your drink. Oh yeah, remember that guy? Take a drink. Awkward backstage interview, take a drink, which happens a fucking lot because of I almost said Scott Frozzo. That's not the right. It's the LA radio guy, Scott Ferreira, something like that. I'm fucking up his name. Anyway, he's an old Westwood One guy, if I remember right. Awkward backstage interview I just mentioned. Mention of Whamma, take a drink. Vadim Finkeldummy sighting, take a drink. And uncomfortable lull in the broadcast commentary, drink. So if you want to, it's also a 3-hour show. So if you want to get completely and totally hammered, definitely go sign up for their Patreon.
You don't want to finish the show. Follow those rules.
Yeah, no, it feels like a 2-parter. It feels like you get through like half the fights, and then you're gonna need a nap, and then you can.
But hey guys, I actually just woke up. It's 2 p.m. I have a very bad hangover. Let's do part 2.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much, especially if you're drinking fucking Caribou drinks or whatever the fuck Chad Dundas was drinking in that. So
look at that. That's fucking ridiculous.
It's rough. But I did not. So we only watched about an hour or 45 minutes or so of that before we started this. So it's my cat can't miss just because it was that good for that short amount of time. I can't imagine it's not going to just keep getting better and better. So definitely recommend checking that out. Did you listen to any new shows this week?
Unfortunately, I did not.
So I'll mention real quickly. I listened to Scrappy Cappy and the Silverback podcast. Their first episode it was recorded a couple weeks back. It's actually it's their second attempt at a first episode because the first attempt fucked up, which that shit happens. But it's hosted by Amy Kaplan and Ian Butler. Amy, of course, is a journalist who I believe is the managing editor or something for Fansided. Something like that. She's one of the heads of Fansided MMA. And then Ian Butler, who is from Bellator. He's a 155er/175er over in Bellator. So they talk about how Amy's first interview was with Ian, and Ian moved in with Amy shortly after, which is kind of crazy. I don't know how that whole backstory works, but
okay.
Yeah, they seem like they're friends. I don't know. I'm not throwing any shade. They seem, I don't know.
Whatever.
Regardless, it's an entertaining podcast. Amy, there's a lot of Super Bowl talk in it. Amy talks about how she just started following MMA when Ian moved in back in, I want to say like 5 or so years ago. So I didn't realize she was that new to MMA, but it's interesting. There's a lot of fucking Connor talk to be just fair fucking warning. There's a lot of it, especially since Amy is a Connor fan. Again, shouts out to her being a fan from starting like 5 years ago. Ian does talk a bit about how he's moving back down to 155. They recap the Fortaleza card since it was right around that time. And they do a little bit of a preview for UFC 234. And then they do an interview with Moses Murrieta, or Amy does specifically, talking about food and training with Bisping and RDA and fighting in LFA. It's a pretty good episode. I like it.
Nice, man.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see how that show evolves because the first episode of any show is always fucking rocky as hell. Shouts out to our first couple episodes where we had no fucking format and no idea what we were doing.
Yeah, we were basically just like, all right, here's some more beer that we're drinking. And so what other fights do you like or some shit? Or I can't remember.
Yeah, I was just randomly naming podcasts and shit. It was all over the place, but it was definitely... Yeah, it's always interesting to see how podcasts evolve because they all change over time pretty drastically. So, let's see. Do you have any well-rounded recommendations for since we were just talking about co-main event podcasts for the? Do you have any podcasts for the well-rounded fight fan that aren't about MMA?
Yeah, there was that one baseball, Effectively Wild.
We talked about that.
There's that one. Bill Burr, of course, every week.
Yeah.
And fuck, there was another one. I think I listened to Hannibal Buress, but it was one from like...
Handsome Rambler?
Yeah, because I remember he hadn't had an episode out since like last September. And then just like a couple weeks ago, he started going back to it. I think he's done like 3 now in the past like 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
So, to be fair, I like that show a lot. But if you tell me what was your favorite part of whatever episode you watch, I can't remember because that show is so out there. Right. And sometimes the noise, the sound effects don't give me anxiety, but I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the podcast Neil Brennan and Moshe Kasher and DJ Doug used to do way back in the day, where they're just fucking shoving sound effects down your throat sometimes.
Yeah, like he'll be talking about something else and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But no, I love Hannibal Buress. He's fucking hilarious. Always shout him out. I'm surprised don't know if he does. I wonder if Eric Andre has a podcast. I feel like that'd be fucking just as crazy, but
that's a good question. I don't know that he does. I'm sure he does something.
Because I remember his show on Adult Swim is basically one of those. You can watch it while you're sober, but you might be kind of second guessing what you're watching.
Yeah, it gets kind of crazy.
I was thinking to myself, when is that dude coming out with a new season? Apparently, I don't know if you heard, he teamed up with this other fucking comedian, this really funny guy. I can't remember his name. I'll have to tell you about it later. But Jeff Tremaine, the guy who did all the Jackass movies, is doing his movie. And it's a movie he's doing with this other comedian, like Jackass an extent, but what you see on the Eric Andre show. So if the guy from Jackass is attached to it, sounds kind of promising. It could be funny. But I think it's coming out in theaters like at the end of the year, some shit like that. So that's kind of interesting. But,
nice. Also, shouts to Kyle Madaffer, who jumped in chat at one point. Fucking
really?
Yeah. I think a little bit ago. So shouts to that motherfucker.
Where does it see? Oh, it says I've never used this Google Hangout shit. So where would it even show that?
I don't know. I pulled it up on the actual YouTube stream. I just saw fucking Kyle pop in there. So anyway, some other well-rounded shows I wanted to shout out. Not a podcast, but Something's Burning, which is Bert Kreischer's cooking show. He did one with Tom Papa and Brian Regan, which was really funny. Let's see. Dr. Drew After Dark is the new show that he is doing with on the Your Mom's House feed.
Yeah. So she tweeted that, or I saw something on YouTube.
Yeah, I watched a bit of it. It's a lot like Loveline with Dr. Drew, but instead it's them just having guests. And I think taking some emails and stuff like that. So the first episode, I believe, was him and Christina, and the second episode was him and Tom. But I love me some Dr. Drew. Even if the one time I met him, I was super fucking hammered at Corolla's warehouse, and I forget what I said. I think I tried to convince him to get Anderson Cowan, the old engineer from Loveline, to come on his podcast back then. But real drunk. Don't drink Mangria out of the keg at 9 a.m. after having an energy drink and no food. That's my pro tip.
Oh, I've seen you've been there kind of at CFFC.
Oh yeah. Well, that was because of E4040s. I learned that lesson eventually.
And like 2 Red Bulls, something dumb. You just had to just
something like that. Crazy bad combo.
And I remember you're like, I haven't eaten in hours. I'm like, well.
See, I wasn't doing too bad until those dudes from Alliance bought us shots of Jack.
Shots of tequila.
Tequila.
That really does it. That's just why I usually don't do shots of tequila.
Probably smart. I always do shots of tequila when they're offered, and that's never the way to go about things. Let's see. Other stuff I wanted to quickly shout out. Jesus and Miro were on Hot Ones. I haven't got a chance to watch it, but I guarantee that's great. This past weekend, Theo Vaughn's podcast, episode 176, he had Ari Shaffir on. I only listened to a little bit, but it's hilarious. Yeah, for sure. And Doug Stanhope podcast, episode 299, with Christine Levine, Chaley, and Chad Shank telling drug stories that probably shouldn't be on air. It's pretty good. So I think those are the major ones I wanted to shout out. Is there any other ones you wanted to mention that you heard this week that were good?
Yeah, let me see. Put it down somewhere. Shout out to me not organizing my shit.
Hey, that's how it goes sometimes. Here, while you're pulling that up, Submission Radio episode 179 was good. Dan Hooker Skyped in, Javi Mendez Skyped in, Colby Skyped in and said the phrase, "This is a very comfortable couch. You can do multiple sex positions on it." That was a real quote. He fucked it up like that too. And John Morgan called in, and they joked about John Morgan's sweet Fight Pass show that's totally going to happen, called John Morgan Looking for a Pint.
Okay.
That's totally not going to happen, but it's real good.
I like it.
Let's see. Do you have any?
Yeah, Believe You Me. Almost forgot. This was, I mean, I'm not going to call it a skip because it was fucking hilarious. So Lewis was offended by certain YouTube comments made.
Oh my God. He got so fucking mad, bro.
Clever. He says he wonders how many of these clowns Michael can take on at once. I know he likes pushing that narrative. He's like, Michael, I want you to beat up all these YouTubers. Michael's like, yeah, if they pay me millions of dollars, I'll do it. Which is the same thing I would say if I was in his position.
Yeah.
They talked about the whole Kane went down on strikes and blew out his knee. We've heard this. Michael says he'd rather lose a close 5-round fight than lose in 26 seconds. Yeah. They said good for Francis. Michael's intrigued to see what Francis could possibly do against someone like Daniel Cormier. Michael and Lewis love the movie Rocky V, and then Harrington proceeded to play about like a 2-minute clip. Michael's like, are you going to show him the whole fucking movie? What are we doing here? Oh, my
God. It was the worst. Well, to be fair, partially Bisping's fault because he also told him, oh, just let it play, Harrington. And then he yelled at him for letting it play.
Michael Bisping talked about how frustrated he was seeing Alex Caceres fought the way he did against Kron Gracie. As far as his Tekken shit or whatever he said he was doing, or pirouettes or something. He was kidding when he said give him the Shane Bell for getting tapped out to a Gracie. They discussed freak injuries. He discussed his top.
I didn't realize I forgot the Shane Bell was a fucking Monty Python bit.
Oh, really? Because I couldn't. Because I thought they were referencing from Game of Thrones. But that makes way more sense.
I mean, maybe it was a thing back then, but it's a Monty Python bit because we retweeted Mike Russell this week talking about how some fucking journalist told some other journalist to not ask Ali about shit.
Stupid as fuck.
And in that he used the GIF of the Shane Bell from I believe it's the Jesus-y Monty Python.
You know what that's like saying? That'd be like if you had Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein from the 70s, like, hey, we have a really good anonymous source saying that Richard Nixon is involved in some serious scandal. But wait, Nixon's guy just told us we can't do it, so we're going to not do it.
Even worse than that, in a closer comparison, it's like one journalist turning to another journalist being like, hey, don't ask Don King about the stomping a dude to death thing. That's not appropriate. You're like, motherfucker, what? So, yeah. Terrible journalists out there in MMA. What the fuck, bro?
Yeah, I need to get my credentials and step my game up and represent.
For real.
They discussed freak injuries. He said he had a good discussion with Kat Zingano, except he thought it was kind of funny. Not funny, but laughing about the non-severity of her injury compared to his. He wasn't trying to be a dick, but he's like, sweetheart, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
She's like, all right. Yeah. People freak out. I mean, it's your fucking eyeball. I'd probably freak out, too, if I got poked in the eye by someone's toenail. And I know they clip your nails and shit for those reasons. Michael says he's going to be on a Netflix show called Hyperdrive. Lewis, so this is where it got kind of insane. Lewis is taking a family vacation to Jamaica and says he's going to, in quotes, treat everyone like slaves. Pretty sure you could have worded that a little differently, Lewis. He grew up in trash. If I saw Jamaican, I'd say, shut the fuck up, Donovan, pick up this trash and smoke this blunt. And Michael's like, why is his name Donovan? He's like, well, I feel like there would be a lot of Jamaicans named Donovan. It's like, sure, Lewis. Sure. So that was it. And he said, it's okay, Michael. I see you're kind of nervous. You can be racist on this podcast. And then Michael tells a joke. All right, then, Lewis, why do Jews watch porn backwards? So they can see the prostitute give the money back. And he's like, well played, Michael. I'm like, God damn it, you guys.
Yeah. No, that totally checks out as to what that podcast is.
I mean, I was laughing because I'm a piece of shit, but, you know.
Well, what are you going to do? It's not the worst joke. I believe they talked about Polish jokes a bit, too, which was great.
Oh, yeah, because Michael said, I'm offended, Lewis. I'm part Polish myself.
Right. As someone who's a good chunk Polish, I love me some Polish jokes. They're always funny and always lazy. Let's see. So some podcasts, I'll run through these very briefly. MMA on the Rocks, episode 127 was really good. They recap Bellator 215, Bellator 216, and UFC Phoenix. And it was just a good episode. Bill, they recorded it right after the card, so Bill was a little sauced up on some bourbon, which made it a lot more fun. And I just liked it overall. It was a fun one. Frenemies, episode 17, Dan Hooker and Jason Vorster. Dan Hooker had Jason Vorster on as the guest, who is the head coach of Shuriken Martial Arts, or not the head coach, but the head of Shuriken Martial Arts, and puts on shows in New Zealand. And it's mostly an episode focused on New Zealand mixed martial artists to keep an eye on. So that was cool. People like Faith Van Duyn, a couple guys in one, a guy in Brave FC. And Dan in that episode also said, confirmed that he beat Red Dead 2 in 2 weeks.
I was gonna say, did I do that too? No, fuck no, I didn't.
It took me like 3 months because
I almost feel bad that he took 2 weeks. It's like, did you even enjoy like all the other shit, man?
Oh, I'm sure.
But then again, when he says 2 weeks, that could have meant, yeah, I was up every night till 3. So who knows? Maybe he's
gonna do that with that game too. So.
Yeah.
That was good. We talked about Heavy Hands 251, which was solid. The Hammer MMA episode 442 was good. Dave and Steve were in studio, and Greg called in because he was sick as fuck. They talked about they talked about their previous trips to Prague and how you can buy quarter beers there. So that sounds pretty dope.
Wait, like a beer quarter?
Yeah, because it's Eastern Europe, dog.
I mean, I shouldn't really be surprised because, well, I haven't been to like Eastern Europe, but I just remember how affordable beer was in Europe.
Everywhere in Europe, yeah.
Oh, this is fun.
Let's see. Severe MMA episode 199 was solid, where they recapped Phoenix and talked about the Bellator card. They also did a preview for Bellator Dublin, which we are not going to cover this week because fucking tape delay.
Your boy, who's it, Gallagher?
Oh yeah, fucking Gallagher's. Actually, no, it's literally every fight in the main card has an SBG guy on it fighting somebody who they should beat. It's pretty.
Oh, is that fucking Momo?
It's every one of them. It's like Momo 5
Ward.
Fights.
He's probably fighting, right?
Yep, Ward's on it. Charlie Ward.
I hope he gets dumped on his head.
Yeah, it's frustrating matchmaking for Bellator. Ariel Helwani's MMA show episode 34. Not totally terrible. Ngannou was on, Luque was on, Coker was on. Ariel at one point admits that maybe some of the stuff, in hindsight, some of the responses from Henry to Nikki Bella may not have been the best, which was great. Aljo called in.
Oh, as far as
a bunch of shit about Cody.
That whole thing that they exchanged that they had.
The one that Ariel was like fucking drooling over, which was real annoying.
Yeah, playing a matchmaker like he likes to fucking do. Maybe Henry's gonna call him and say, "You ruined my love life, Ariel. Fuck you." Just like Rampage.
Oh God. Let's see. Rose called in to talk about the Andrade fight. MVP called in. And Ponzinibbio Skyped in. Oh, and Jimmy Crute also. Jimmy fucking Crute.
I like that guy a lot. I remember I watched him on Embedded. That guy seems like he's some serious fucking power. What is he, a light heavyweight, right? Jesus, that guy looks scary.
Yeah, it's always a good interview with him.
Ponzinibbio is trying to fight Dos Anjos, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And then Lesbo and the Bean episode 182 was pretty solid. A lot of inappropriate jokes, but pretty solid. And yeah, that was pretty much it for me. MMA Roadshow wasn't bad. A lot of talk about Snow in Vegas and GSP retiring, and then they did a Skype interview with Simon Head, who's in Prague for that card. And Simon Head confirmed that he's gonna be hanging out at the Hooters and uploading stuff there because they have good Wi-Fi. So
sure,
pretty solid. So overall, decent week in MMA podcast. Not one of the best, but goddamn, everybody, go subscribe to the Co-Main Event Patreon and watch this fucking Affliction Day of Reckoning stream because holy shit. Yeah,
because your liver will be a reckoning.
Oh, yeah, it will be. It'll be a fucking super reckoning. Or I believe it'll just be... Oh, God. What did Tito already said crazy shit like 5 minutes into that
thing. Anyway. Quoted some shit from the Bible and like Revelations, the pale white horse.
No, he just keeps fucking up words like always. I think he called it Affliction Day of Wrecking at one point, which is fucking great. So we will go ahead and wrap this part of the show here. We will be back here in like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes or so to give our picks. We're going to shut this video down, start a new video for our picks for this upcoming prog card. So cool. We will go ahead and do that, and we will be right back. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, oh shit. So one thing I forgot to mention, and I'm only going to briefly mention it here because it's a big old bummer, but I am going to play a clip of the Festival of Friendship, Stephen Brody Stevens podcast.
That's right.
Unfortunately passed away yesterday, I believe. Due to suicide, which is a big fucking bummer.
That's a shame.
But Brody Stevens is one of the most unique characters in all of time, and he's a great fucking dude. So here's to Brody Stevens, and we'll be back.